Hey everybody, this week on the Inktwell, we are taking a look at Colorverse Schrodinger from the Schrodinger and Cat series. So, Schrodinger is obviously the larger of the two bottles, and Cat would be the smaller of the two bottles, with this one being green and Cat being blue with a silver shimmer. I would show you the bottle of Cat, but it is now in the hands of Mr. Inkdependence, so I don't know if Cat happens to be alive or dead, which is fitting considering where Schrodinger and Cat comes from. I will say, though, right off the bat, I am always going to be enamored with these teardrop-shaped bottles and the overall quality and volume that you get from Colorverse. My number one gripe, though, I really wish both inks would have come in the same size bottle. Hopefully Colorverse starts doing that. It would be amazing. I know a lot of people would like that. Now, before we get into the writing sample, I did this writing sample with my Sailor Pro Gear Slim Graphite Lighthouse with the 14 karat hard broad nib. I must say I really like this ink and pen combination, and it really comes down to this nib. The one good thing about the Sailor broad nibs is they write a little bit more on the medium side, so you get a more controlled line width, but the flow from this nib is superb. So I'm getting a lot of the shading properties that I really like to see in my inks while still having a line width that tends to work on a lot of papers. Now let's go ahead and get into that writing sample. So for the writing sample, we did use the trusty Endless Works 68 GSM Tomoe River paper notebook. Now, you can already see that Schrodinger has a nice, slightly darker than Kelly green look to it. And up here, you would think that the flow is kind of medium to medium dry. But then you get down to the dry time, and look at that. It took almost 35 seconds for this ink to be completely dry, which is a little bit interesting, because right there, it looks like it's coming out of the nib super dry, so I really wasn't expecting that. But overall, I really love this color that we're getting from Colorverse Schrodinger. It has to be one of my favorite greens overall. And honestly, I can see myself using it for quite a long time. I'm glad I've got 65 milliliters of it. Let's go ahead and take a look at how it comes out of the pen, how it comes out swabbed, and of course, how it comes out when you just happen to spill ink on the paper. The interesting thing about Schrodinger is when you swab it on a coloring card, you get some of the shading, but you really don't get the sheen that comes through the ink. And I really like that sheen because it's a nice dark green to subtle blue, and you don't see that much in ink. I actually was having a hard time figuring out what color the sheen was until I looked at the back of the paper and saw, oh wait, yeah, that's actually blue. And then you look at it and you can actually see it coming through, which is really cool. And it's a nice property of this ink that I would love to see more of. I honestly really would. So how does this ink that holds up really well in the writing sample hold up in water? And for that, we bring out our trusty Rhodian number 16 dot pad with another writing sample and a little grid with some dots on it so we can see what happens to the ink when we introduce it to our friend water. Looks like I missed a spot there. There we go, much better. All right, now that we've given the water some time to do its thing, let's go ahead and clean up the paper and cut to a dry result, shall we? All right, so now that we've got that cleaned up, let's take a look at the result here. And I've used Schrodinger for quite a bit, so I kind of knew this was coming. But look at this result. The green layer washes away pretty much completely, leaving a nice yellow and gold underlayer that's really legible. So in the worst case scenario where you spill something on your paper, you don't have to worry because as long as the paper is in one piece, you'll be able to recover what you wrote, which makes this an amazing water resistant ink. Not quite waterproof, obviously, because the color went, but pretty water resistant because it's nice and recoverable. So good job, Schrodinger. So let's talk final thoughts about Colorverse Schrodinger. If you've watched my other videos, you know I'm a sucker for turquoise, but I'm also a sucker for a good green. And this is a good green. It's not too light, it's not too dark, it doesn't remind me of pea soup, and it's consistent from one type of paper to another. And that's a good thing. I like having an ink where I know what I'm getting into each time I use it. Also, when you get a silly amount like 65 mil, you know you're going to have quite a bit. So if you get to try the ink before you buy it, and then you buy it and you get a lot of ink, that is a very good thing. And I love that we see that here in Schrodinger. The only thing I'm really going to deduct points for is the fact that you don't get enough cat. You only get 15 mil of it, and I'm going to link to Inkdependence's video down below, so you can go ahead and see what the color looks like for the companion bottle. And I have a strange feeling you'll agree with me. There should have been more cat. But overall, with the color, the amount of ink you get, the water resistance, it's a solid 8 out of 10. And I couldn't be happier with this ink. So if you want a bottle for yourself and you want to pick up some cat, head on over to penchalet.com, click on the radio podcast link at the top of the page, and enter Inktwell in the How You Heard About Us section to get 10% off site-wide. Also, if your order is over $50, you do get free shipping in the continental United States, so take advantage of that. It's a really good thing. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up the video here. If you like the video, hit the like button. If you didn't like it, well, you know what to do. Either way, subscribe to the channel, and check the links down below where you can follow Inktwell on social and how you can support the channel. Other than that, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you next week.